This is a very unusual dress. It has this very fine lace, and then it has this lining. I'll show you a close-up of it in a minute. But what's happening is that the lining is actually bigger than the lace, and because it's attached, it's not sitting correctly on the body, and you can see that because the lining's bigger, so therefore it's kind of bulking out a little bit. Now I have pinned it, and I will take those measurements and write them down, but what I think the best solution for this is, to fix that problem, is to undo it from here to here and separate the lace from the lining so that the two are hanging separately. So I'm going to do that, and she wanted it shortened, so my thoughts were, okay, I didn't really want to just overlock it, and I'll show you later, but they've overlocked it down the bottom, and it really looks quite messy. So I would prefer, if I'm going to separate it, is to bind the lace. And because she wants it shortened a little bit, I'm going to be able to use some of the lining to bind the lace, and I think that'll be a good idea. And then the next thing that I've got to worry about after that is the back. So it's got this zip, and naturally those two are joined together, and that's fine, because once this is released, I think that little bit that's joined won't be a problem. However, what is a problem is the section below the zip, and I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten the length for her, which I'll show you how to do lace, and release the lace and the lining on the sides, and then I'll have a fitting, and then I'll see what's happening here as to whether we need to take that in or not, because this is a mother of the bride dress, so it needs to be correct. You know, she doesn't want to be looking like there's something wrong with her dress on the day. So I'll show you how we'll go about this one. So now you can see the dress on the table. I'm going to shorten it to there, but see how there's all that bunching underneath with the lining? In fact, if I grab hold of what it should be, that's how much too much there is of the lining, about 2 inches. That's how big it is compared with the outer, and so that's causing it to bunch all the way up here. See, even here you can see how that's laying over on itself, and this doesn't have, well, it has pretty much no stretch in it at all. You know, if I grab hold of that, I can't, it's not, there's no stretch in this lace, but there's stretch in the lining. And so, you know, it's not even, this is fitting perfectly on her as it is. Oh, once I take in this amount, it's a bit too big, but you can see how much that lining's too big, and so it's bunching. So it'll be an interesting one to do. I'll show you how I'm going to go about it, and I'll prepare it, and then we'll have a fitting with it. When you're taking something in like this, you need to draw an outline of what you're doing. Now this is the outside seam, or the underarm seam, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the top down to here, my first pin, which is 13 inches, and I'm going to write on here 13 inches start, and then I'm going to measure down 16 inches, and that's 7/8 of an inch, and then I will measure down 19, and that's 7/8. And 22, one inch. And 25, 3/4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 7/8 because I think it was very difficult to pin it because it was, you know, so puckery. That's 1 inch. So yes, I'm going to change all of this. I'm going to make that 1 inch and I'm going to put end 1 inch. So even though obviously my philosophy is where I pin is where I sew, having said that, it's very difficult when you're doing something like this. If I check the other side, 25 is, yeah, see that's 1 1/8, so if I compensate it then 1 inch is going to work. 28 is 1 inch. So that's actually 1 inch as well, so I'm going to make 19 1 inch as well. So when you're pinning, if I pin this 1 1/8 and that's 7/8, well, if you add that up, that's 2 inches, and if you divide that by 2, that's 1 inch. So therefore if I do 1 inch here and 1 inch there, it should be perfect. So that's my measurements, and I do need to take this one here, which is, I'll just measure from there to there. See, the stretch is all this way, not the other way. I think they put it on wrong. Oh, maybe not. 5.5. So up 5.5. But what I'll do, because I want to take all my pins out, and you know, lace is a very hard fabric for pins to stay in anyway, so I'm just going to put a safety pin through there, and then I can take these out, and that shows me where it's going to finish. And now I can take these pins out here so that I'm free to unpick the whole thing. When I've got it unpicked, I'll be able to get the lining the same as the rest of it once I've got it on the table. Can you see how that's all bunching there? So maybe once we get the lining fixed, it could hopefully resolve that issue. Who knows? She's going to lose the splits, she knows that. That's not really an issue. See, it's joined, so you know, maybe it is worth my while just undoing that and having that separate from below the zip. Anyway, we'll see. So I've turned it inside out, and I just wanted to show you that if that was sitting flat and taking into account that this has got absolutely no stretch in it whatsoever, right, like that. It's got a bit of stretch there, but nothing with these lines in the lace. So if we lay that from there to there, and this is obviously really stretchy, then that's how much too big it is. All the way up to here, that whole bit there. So that's what's bunching. That's how much bigger. It's roughly about, it's about 2 inches too big. That wouldn't be an issue if this stretched, but it doesn't. So now it's an issue.